it's like so I was just trying to figure out when I'm gonna watch this Walsh Family Christmas because it's like why don't the cab just come take him to where he gotta go so I can go upstairs and watch this movie because it's like this episode because I'm like I knew he was coming over because I had to work yesterday. He was coming over and I didn't know he was going to stay until 11 o'clock. I'm thinking he was going to stay till like about 9:30, 10 o'clock. And I'm like, okay, he can leave and then that'll be it. But I'm like, I want to watch this Walsh Family Christmas episode. And I finally did it. I watched it around maybe about 1. And I'm surprised I'm surprised I wasn't that sleepy. I mean, I used to be a night owl growing up. You start getting older, the sleep comes easy now. And I'm like, especially on my couch. One time on my couch, Aaron and Tommy, I'm like, ugh.
Oh, I'm in bed by 8 o'clock. I mean, I'm gonna watch my story. I like to still call them my stories, just because I like to keep the past alive. Yes. I'm gonna turn on my stories, and then I'm just gonna be there until I'm gonna pop my melatonin.
I'm usually laying in bed around 10, but I'm still watching something, but I don't usually make it to 11.
Last weekend we were out so late and I just was like, no, girl, I can't do this. No, I'm not. No.
Oh, I was up for almost 24 hours straight between traveling and like doing the bachelor party for Aaron. Like I was exhausted.
And I'm like the little kid that, when they don't want to go to sleep, they start just getting more active. That's me. So we're in the car and Tommy and Greg are and I'm just chatting away like.
I know I responded to you, but I don't remember what I said. Because I literally was fighting to keep my head up.
I have no idea what I was asking, so you're good.
Yes,
I'm all right. Let's get started. So if you haven't figured it out already, because we kind of mentioned it, we're talking about Beverly Hills 90210, season 2. I don't remember the episode number, but it's a Walsh Family Christmas.
Mm-hmm. Not available for streaming, so you better get those DVDs.
Oh, yes.
Learn that. I had to get out of bed. I was like, they're going to make me go get my DVD, aren't they? Mm-hmm.
Oh, yeah.
Paramount.
I wasn't sure about you, Aaron. I knew that Don had them because I remembered him posting when he had found them. So I was like, all right, Don's good.
Yes.
But I wasn't sure about you.
I have the first 2 seasons. I need to get the rest of them.
Okay.
So I was so afraid it was going to be season 3, and then I was just going to be out of luck.
I got to get season 3. I went to Savers out in West Hempstead to get the DVDs. I was able to get maybe 4 I think 4, maybe 5, and I think 6 or 7. I'm like, where's 3? I just want 3. Once I can get 3, I'm good. I'm gonna find it. I'm gonna go out to Savers probably. I'm on vacation this week from work, so I'll probably go out there probably today or tomorrow. And because
do you remember how much you paid for them out of curiosity?
Oh, it was $2.99 or $3.99
for the whole season. I feel like I paid like $40-$50 per season.
What?
Maybe 30.
I paid at least 20 something.
Well, because I got them when they were new, like when they first came out.
Yeah.
All right, let me get John. We're coming to Savers, whatever that is. I feel like
still
save money.
Savers is that store. Savers, Aaron, is packed because a lot of people have these ideas about these thrift stores. These thrift stores, I think for maybe I would say from 9/11 on, from 9/11 or the recession, the thrift stores have been packed in New York, especially Goodwill Industries and the Salvation Army. But Savers wasn't as packed years ago when they opened up here, because I think Savers opened.
There's a Savers by me, literally 5 minutes up the block from me.
Oh wow!
Yeah, but even in Arkansas, Greg and I went to Goodwill. We love to do thrift stores and find things.
Yeah.
But all right, let's roll the credits and we'll get into the episode. All right. So before we actually start talking about this episode, Don, did you watch the show when it was on? Like when it first aired?
Yes, I was a huge Beverly Hills 90210 fan from the beginning. I was a fan from when it appeared in the TV Guide as one of the newest shows to watch for the fall season. We're going back 1990.
Oh, wow.
I was a TV Guide lover. My grandmother would buy TV Guide every time we went to Pathmark. And she ended up subscribing to TV Guide. So I saw it in the TV Guide, but it was under the class of Beverly Hills.
Yeah, the pilot.
Yeah, you get a pilot. And I'm like, the class of Beverly Hills. I wasn't sure it was going to last.
Uh-huh.
I liked it from when I saw it. I remember watching the promos. This is what I remember from watching the first promo. I remember Cindy saying Cindy was talking to Kelly and Donna in the car, and I believe it was Kelly asking Cindy, "Excuse me." I was like, "Uh-oh." I was like, "Uh-oh, this is gonna be a shady show." I love my shady shows.
I do too. My mom.
You got in before it was popular.
Yeah, and it became popular the summer of '91. Because I was like, oh, wait a minute, they're showing episodes during the summer, first run episodes during the summer. I was like, what? Because the first season was rough.
It's rough. Yeah.
Yeah, it was rough that first season. And I'm like,
I mean, it had the qualities there, but they were doing that standalone episode thing too. And it just, that doesn't work very well for me. Not when you're a soap opera fan.
No.
My mom watched the show, and she's still in her refrigerator has these little magnets. It came like a little, remember those 10 pencil cans that you used to get? Mm-hmm. She has one of those that has the cast of the season 2. You can tell that came out around season 2 because it has that photo, and it had little picture, like it has Dylan, Brandon, and I think someone else, but I can't think of who it was. Next time I go to our house,
you didn't get a lot of love with the merchandise.
Next time I go to our house, I'll have to find that stuff because, I mean, especially now that Luke Perry's no longer with us.
Yeah.
That stuff is, let me tell you, those opening credits.
I don't know about, I was just going to say, I don't know about you guys, but those opening credits, every time I watch it after a long time, love not, I get like chills because it's so nostalgic.
I just watched the Riverdale graduation episode, and they used that clip from when they thought Fred was dying the first time and taking the photo. I was like, oh, Luke Perry.
Aww.
I didn't realize I was that invested in Luke Perry. Miss him.
So this was when the show was becoming a little bit more serialized. They were still doing like one-off episodes, but there were a lot of things that kind of flooded into this episode from previous episodes. In the previous episode, Steve had left town to go look for his birth mother. Mm-hmm. And this episode, for him anyway, is about him being in New Mexico. Right? Is that where he is? New Mexico?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. And searching for his birth mother.
He still, though, even though this episode, he didn't get a lot of love in it. His scenes were short.
No.
Yeah. I remember this being more Steve heavy than it actually was.
I mean,
but maybe back then I didn't care about Steve. I was like, oh, who cares about Steve? And now I'm like, I want more Steve.
Me neither.
I know he was just a head of the gang. You know, we didn't appreciate Steve.
No,
I know. Watching him now as an adult, I'm like, oh, Steve's kind of cute. Brenda's working at a store, which I feel like this might be the first time we see it, but it comes back in a later episode where her boss is kind of being bitchy to her, and Cindy comes in pretending to be a rich lady and like is rude to the store manager. But in this episode, she's actually kind of nice to Brenda. Kelly and Steve. Kelly's missing Steve. I just feel like these moments where I'm like, I ship them, and I'm like, they should have just put them back together.
They should have at least had a little more time together. They didn't. Mm-hmm. Yeah, they talked about it a lot, but never put them together again.
Mm-hmm. We got to see almost everybody's parents except for Donna.
I know
it was the same thing.
It was really weird because I'm like, I'm not used to seeing the Beverly Hills kids' parents. Like that's one of the jokes about the show is,
yeah,
where are the
everyone?
I was thinking about that, guys. Like I did not see Donna's parents at all. And this episode was just so it was historic for us as fans because it was the first time Cindy met Mel and met Samantha.
Mm-hmm.
She met Jackie, of course, but I think I watched the episode years ago, but watching it as an adult, I noticed that wow, this is historic actually, because Cindy actually met Mel and Samantha. That was the first time, and I'm like, wow.
Yeah.
So it's kind of like, and the thing about which is interesting about this episode is how Jim and Cindy, or the do I want to say normal or the more functional?
They're your typical. Yeah. They're your typical TV parents.
Yeah.
Or what we envision typical TV parents being.
And Jackie had her issues with alcoholism. Mel was getting a divorce from David's mother Sheila. And Samantha was the Hollywood wife, TV actress, who was so busy to show her love and affection to Steve.
They made it seem like Steve made it seem like she shared a lot of love and affection, though.
Right.
So I like that she calls him gorgeous. That's like her nickname for him. She always calls him gorgeous.
I will say that Jackie, I think, is my favorite parent, and I wish we would have seen her more.
Okay, when Jackie and Mel fought over him not being able to come to Christmas because of Sheila, and like Kelly had to comfort her, I was like, wow, Kelly really was like the mom in this situation.
Yeah.
For the early years, at least.
Yeah. I love Kelly cooking because I was like, oh, that's me. I always relate to the characters who can't cook.
Yeah.
It's like I'm seeing myself on television.
I think about Kelly in that situation because Kelly went through a lot of trauma having a parent with addiction, and I can pretty much identify with that because I'm very frank with that. Both of my parents experienced that, and I'm kind of going through something like that. I'm not going to make this into something on here, but I kind of know how it is to parent your parent who experienced addiction. So. Looking at Kelly, I always identified with Kelly actually throughout the years. Yeah, I looked at her first as a first pilot bitch, but she ended up not really being a bitch. I mean, there's a lot of things Kelly has done throughout the season that I'm like, girl, what were you doing? But I understand why she did a lot of the things that she did, why she experienced a lot of things that she experienced. Because being a child of an addict does a lot of psychological damage to you.
Kelly definitely has a lot of character growth throughout the 10 years. She definitely morphs into a different person. A good person, I would say. So we find out because they didn't have a Christmas episode. No, don't skip to that. I know what you're going to talk about. We find out in season 1 that apparently they went back to Minnesota for Christmas, but we didn't have a Christmas episode, so we never saw that. So they haven't decorated, and it's 2 days before Christmas. I feel like, what's the point?
Right.
That's what I was thinking the whole time. I was like, what's the point? You're about to have to take it down.
Yeah, that's what I was like. Like, I could see if you're getting a real tree, okay, maybe that, but you didn't even decorate the house.
Right.
But, so they, of course, because they're the Walshes and they have an open door policy, invite everybody and their families for dinner, but everybody's busy. Thank God they still cooked enough food because everybody ended up showing up.
Yeah, and Andrea brought the brisket from her grandmother.
Which, okay. in the pilot, it is established that Andrea does not have a car and she takes the bus everywhere.
Yeah.
I was like, this girl traveled on the bus with a brisket. Is it good still? Like,
exactly.
It's a pretty extravagant gift. Like, I could see bringing a bottle of wine or like a pie, a brisket.
Yeah, I was like, girl, you came on 2 or 3 buses.
I mean, she is Andrea, so
yeah. Oh, one thing I noticed when she was at the Peach Pit, I guess when Brandon was inviting her, they kissed on the lips. It was a quick, like,
I was like, what friends? I've never kissed my friends on the lips like that.
Right.
I was like,
and there was no mistletoe.
No. I was like, wow, because I noticed that too. I'm like, what?
And now Andrea is still in therapy about all the times Brandon led her on, and working through all that trauma.
I always kind of wanted them to be together, but like even more so now, I feel like I ship them. I'm like, just be together.
I don't know why they never tried it.
I read that, I don't know, it could be a rumor that Jason Priestley didn't want it.
Ooh.
Too much sexual.
To be free.
Too much sexual chemistry with his sister.
I don't know how true that is, though. We got to see Emily Valentine for a minute.
Yes. Yeah.
Which was also a story that overflowed from previous episodes. Her and Brandon had broken up because she had roofied him. And she didn't take the breakup so well, and she set a homecoming float on fire, I believe, and that ended her getting put into an institution. But I'm pretty sure this is the last time we see her this season until she comes back in the college years. She might have one more episode, but I think this might be the last one.
I'm not sure.
And it's interesting how Jason and Christina Elise dated in real life. That's interesting, because I read his autobiography several weeks ago, and I was aware of that. And I always wondered, how was it to play opposite your real life fiance or your husband or wife, and when the relationship on screen doesn't work out, and at the same time your off-screen relationship doesn't work out. I can imagine how that could be on these sets, and I guess they were professional enough to make it work.
I mean, they're still really good friends. I've heard stories that like they still get together with their husbands and wives to have dinners and stuff.
Oh, cool.
And I like that she came back for BH 90210.
Oh, I did too. Yeah. Sure.
And that her and the heightened version of Andrea were lesbians together. But we got to see Jack Taylor. McKay.
Yeah.
Jack Taylor.
McKay.
Yeah,
his name's Josh Taylor, so I think
that's what I was doing. I was combining those names. So we've seen this character before, but kind of in passing and played by different actors. I think this is his first episode playing Jack.
My memory of Jack is always the limo exploding and Dylan being "Dad" or whatever, you know.
Yeah, that's when my grandmother tried to stop me from watching, and I was like, he just blew up. And I was like 7.
I remember Jack with his girlfriend Christine, and all the things that they were going through. Christine was played by Valerie Wildman, Faye Walker on Days of Our Lives.
Yeah.
They were on it together, and I was trying to remember. I'm trying to remember. I'm gonna have to rewatch those episodes. I have to remember, what did he fake his death at that time, or was he on the run? I'm trying to remember, how did Christine?
No, as far as we knew, he was dead.
Yeah,
she was an FBI agent, but they were in a relationship together.
Okay.
We find out in season 10, towards the end of the series, that she helped fake his death and put him in witness protection. Yeah. So for most of the series, we think he's dead, and that's pretty much Dylan's driving force for why he is the way he is his father's death.
Oh, I thought part of it was when his wife was killed.
That too. He had a lot of trauma.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
But also, that was an extension of his father's death because her father allegedly killed his father.
Yeah.
So.
I remember when she died.
Yeah. Antonia.
Yeah.
Yeah. Rebecca Gayheart.
I always remember her as the Noxema girl.
Yeah. I
was like, oh, the Noxema girl's on the show.
I remember my grandparents and I, we were watching Video Soul on BET, and we saw her on the on a Heavy D music video. And my grandfather asked, what is she doing on here? Because we knew her as the Noxema girl. And he was asking, what is she doing on here? Because I was shocked myself that Rebecca Gayheart was on a Heavy D music video, but then she was on here with the other supermodels at that time.
Okay.
The Cynthia Bailey from the Real Housewives of Atlanta was one of the models on that video.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, so Heavy D just featured the most popular models at that time.
Gotcha. Yeah, her and Carrie Russell kind of had that. Their hair, their long curly hair, were kind of like their signature looks. What else? Okay, so let's talk about Steve. Let's just wrap his story up because it's really nothing. He goes to a hospital that he was born in, and he tries to get his birth certificate, but the nurse/nun doesn't want to give it to him because he's underage. And I thought that was cool that she still let him read it, though.
Yeah.
And he finds his birth grandfather, and he finds out that his birth mother is actually dead.
See, the soap opera reminded me is just like, oh, this is just a lie. She's not dead. And and then I see the tombstone. I'm like, oh, yeah, she did.
They kind of retcon this story a little bit in like season 6. They have it where Rush is actually his birth father, and he had an affair with this waitress, and he basically bought Steve from her.
Wow.
Yeah. But so he meets his grandfather, and they go to the grave, and they say they're going to keep in touch, and I'm like, that never happens. This is the last one.
Right.
That's the only thing about Aaron Spelling shows that kind of always get to me is they will rewrite history like it's nothing for a plot.
Yeah.
Still love them.
Well, nobody knew that like we were going to be able to watch these shows over and over again like we do. So they were like, it's been months, it's been years. They'll never remember. We'll just rewrite it.
They still had syndication.
That's true. So yeah, he ends up coming back to Beverly Hills just in time for Christmas. And that's basically his story. But again, he had a cute moment with Kelly, came up behind her. She was so excited to see him. They were kind of like cuddling while everybody was singing. And I was like, I ship them.
Well, about the Santa, I swear I remember the Santa robbing them.
I thought I did too, especially when Cindy couldn't find her engagement ring. Yeah. I was like, oh no.
I was like, oh yeah, I remember he robbed, but I must be thinking of some other show. But I swear he robbed the Walshes. Like took all their Christmas presents.
We saw quite a bit of Nat in this episode, which was nice.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And he mentioned that on Christmas Day that they actually feed the homeless. And I think that is a thread that carries on year to year after this.
I think so too.
I don't know if it's Thanksgiving or Christmas, but they do something. Because I remember them mentioning after they all get together, oh, we got to go to the Peach Pit to help Nat out. So I think it becomes a tradition.
And it's interesting how with Santa, it looks like the actor King Curtis. I think he played 3 dual roles.
Oh yeah, he was the airline pilot.
Yeah.
And I was just thinking, and he kind of disappears at one moment at the end. So I don't know why they didn't. That story just felt like they wanted to throw it in there, but didn't know how to wrap it up. So they're like, no, we'll just.
No, because I'm thinking like, because I was thinking like, wait a minute, I'm like, how did he get from the Walshes to Albuquerque? And it looked like he was also in the prison. I wasn't sure.
I thought it was him too, and I wasn't sure. I was like, no, that can't be him.
And I'm like, Aaron Spelling. I'm like, that's so Aaron Spelling. I love Aaron Spelling because you know Aaron and Tommy. He's one of my favorite icons. Like he's one of my favorite inspirations, especially after reading Aaron Spelling, A Primetime Life. But yeah, I'm like you can tell some of this is real, and then the other bit is Aaron Spelling. And it's interesting about Aaron Spelling's life was that although he was Jewish, he loved Christmas. He celebrated Christmas.
Mm-hmm.
I always wanted to work with Aaron Spelling. It was my like lifelong dream. And I remember when he died, my mama set me down to tell me he died. I was like, who died? And then she's like, Aaron. I was like, oh my God, no.
Don, have you read Tori Spelling's book Storytelling?
I have her books right here in my living room. I have all 4 of them. I haven't read them yet. I'm gonna read them. Of course.
Storytelling is a good read. It's pretty funny when she recounts her childhood. Yeah, it's good. And she talks about Christmas, how the whole like the Spelling Manor was decked out for Christmas every year, and how he made it snow, and it's a good book. It's fun.
Because I read Candy's book. Oh God, what I read Candyland. I read Candyland, and Candy was talking about how many Christmas gifts they had in that mansion, and I'm looking at Candy like, Candy, you are a hoarder. You love hoarding all of those. I mean, there was a list of stuff she had in her home. I'm like, Candy, really? But she had it. She can flaunt it, right? But I noticed when Donna was talking about Christmas, and I'm like, I think that was an improv from Tori's life, because I picked up on that like you were going to celebrate Christmas with your family in the Bahamas, and I'm like, I think that was a little Aaron and Candy mixed up in there.
Oh yeah, they definitely did that with her. She even talks in her book, and I feel like I've heard her say it, that they gave Donna the same color like car that she had, like her champagne like Chevy or whatever she had, or Porsche. Yeah, there's definitely things that flooded over from her real life into the show. Like they wouldn't let her sleep with anybody.
Yeah.
Because Aaron didn't want it.
No.
There was one episode we talked about 90210, and our Aaron right here said, well, she was a virgin for 10 years. I was like, no, she gave it up in season 7.
Oh, yeah. Yeah,
I forgot. I remember there was always a joke that her dad, like, the reason Donna was a virgin was because her dad was like, no.
Yeah. And I was like, she was probably like, Dad, I'm almost 30. Can I please just have sex? So this is the episode that we find out that Donna's birthday is actually Christmas.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And that actually is something that they consistently do every year.
Oh, poor Donna.
Yeah. I have this vivid memory of the Gina years, season 9 and 10. Ooh. And Gina just being like, I like Gina and Dylan, but Gina got on my nerves with her jealousy of Donna.
Yeah.
And I remember Donna's allergic to chocolate, and I remember her purposefully like getting Donna a chocolate birthday cake. And I was like, you bitch. But it's Vanessa, so I love her.
I couldn't stand her. I was not a Gina fan at all. Gina Kincaid. I'm sorry.
She had good chemistry with Harry.
I fast forward on her. I could take Valerie more than I could take her. Gina.
Oh. I am a Tiffany Amber Thiessen super fan. Yeah. I love some Valerie alone.
Me too.
Well, see, I'm the Shannon Doherty fan of the group.
Right.
Shannon Doherty, interestingly, just watching this episode last night and this morning, there was a moment in which I think she kind of reminded me a little bit of Ciara from Days.
Okay.
And I say that because not in a good way. It's like Ciara is independent, but then when it comes to family, she's down with her family. And
Okay.
Brenda is down with her family, but Brenda wanted to still be she wanted to be accepted still in Beverly Hills.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, she wasn't bitchy about it at all. She just everybody wants to be accepted, So when you want to be accepted, you're gonna kind of get away from your family a little bit to go out there and really see. And I just think a lot of times, like in that when she was in the store, she saw how Deidre treated that homeless man, and she was just not like, she's like, nah, this is not me. I'm still a Walsh. I'm Brandon's twin. This is I'm not a bitch at all. Like Deidre was.
I'm a big Sarah Michelle Gellar super fan.
Oh,
and when I found out Sarah Michelle Gellar and Shannon Doherty were like really good friends, I was like, oh my God, I love her. I love Shannon Doherty more now because Sarah Michelle Gellar loves her. When they did that Kroger commercial, I was like, this is the best thing ever. I followed her from, watched her a little bit 90210 because my mom watched it. Charmed. When she came on North Shore, I was so excited. I was like, oh my God, Shannon Doherty is going to save this show. And then she's going to become the new Heather Locklear. That didn't happen. But I blame Fox, not Shannon Doherty.
Right.
I still remember the promos and her famous line when she came on North Shore when they were like, welcome to whatever the name of the hotel was. She was like, beats the hell out of Beverly Hills. I was like, yes. I was like, I like that little dig.
I remember her just being the voice of Beverly Hills 90210, going back to the popularity with the merchandise. Do y'all? There was an ad for a teenage, I'm gonna say a fragrance called Sassabee, and this was during the 1990s. They used to play ads on WKTU here in New York about Sassabee, and they were promoting Beverly Hills 90210 at the time. And Shannon Doherty was the voice of that. And matter of fact, they used to have ads in teenage magazines, like Sassy.
Oh, okay. I didn't know that.
And I'm like, yeah, that's when it was like from season 2 on. That's when the show started to get real popular. So she was the voice of that campaign. Shannon Doherty.
They started to have their Barbie dolls made of the characters.
Yeah.
I think had Shannon Doherty been on a show where she was the star and not in a ensemble, she would have been on a show lasting more than 4 years.
Yeah.
Back then, I mean, she was young and she got started on very early on.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, she was on Little House on the Prairie too. She's all.
Mm-hmm. She was on Our House with Deirdre Hall. She was Deirdre Hall's daughter.
She was so talented. So, I mean, I give her a little, I'm like, they're kids.
Right.
Yeah. That were told they were going to be on a show that wasn't going to be pretty much anything. So,
right.
But Aaron Spelling knew she had talent because he was like, you know what? I know she's kind of dramatic, but he still brought her on Charmed.
Yeah.
And I mean, I like Alyssa Milano. I do, but I still would have rathered Prue been on Charmed. Just because I was a Prue fan.
So David came to visit Kelly in this episode after the whole fight with Mel and Jackie to bring her a present. And I'm looking at his shirt and I'm like, I think I've had
that. I was shocked that joke, being that this is 91.
Oh, yes. So, yeah.
Was there.
Don't open it in front of your mom. It vibrates. I was like, oh, okay. Wow.
I was not expecting that. I was like, we got a sex joke? What? Like, I was thrown off.
Yeah, that was weird. That was weird. Like,
there was a time when I watched this show because I started like after season 2, so Mel and Jackie were already married, I think. Where I didn't know that David and Kelly weren't really biologically brother and sister. I did eventually find out, but when I was younger, I just assumed that they were brother and sister because I never saw him having a crush on her. And even after Mel and Jackie got divorced, like Jackie still let David stay with them. So I was like, I don't know. I was just like, oh, they're really brother and sister. And even after the divorces, they still consider each other brother and sister.
I mean, well, they do have they have Aaron in common, so
yeah. So they always stayed connected, which I thought was nice.
I felt that was. I'm sorry, I keep cutting you off. I just seem like that was.
That's what we do here.
I feel that was one of the pivotal points of David being accepted into that circle because from season 1, y'all remember he and Scott were the uncool kids, and when David became the school DJ, and just him being Kelly Taylor's stepbrother that gave him cred.
Yeah. I think that's part of the reason that why Scott was written out was because they knew they wanted to put David in with the cool kids, and Scott wouldn't have carried on. But he was so nice and likable.
Yeah.
So they're like, what can we do that people don't hate us? Oh, we'll let him play with a gun and shoot himself.
Yeah.
I was like,
this is also kind of the beginnings of Donna and David. Mm-hmm. They were hanging out. I think she was helping him out with the DJ thing.
Yeah.
And I think they may have gone to the dance together in the previous episode because that's when she made the grand announcement that she likes him. Like she was kind of embarrassed to say it, and she was like, "You know what? I'm going to the dance with him because I like him."
I always liked Donna. She was cute and quirky. That's what made her.
I have this new adulthood appreciation for Tori Spelling. I love that she can make fun of herself, and I love her comedic stuff.
Yes. Mm-hmm. Like when she has that big hoop skirt, and it just keeps.
Yeah.
Or when she dresses up as the mermaid.
Yeah. I love her. I love her a lot more after watching the movie Trick. With Christian Campbell and I think JD Peacock.
Yeah,
how you say his last name? Because I remember taking the movie out. There was a video store here in the village called TLA Video Store. The main chain was in Philly, but I took it out and I watched it and I was like, Tori Spelling, wait a minute, Aaron let you do a movie like this? I mean, it wasn't risking anything. She was the best. She was the best friend.
She was the gay best friend. Or it was that typical 90s where you had the gay guy and the straight best friend who she kind of, has that relationship where you're like, okay, girl, he's never gonna get with you. You're just a friend. But it was during her redhead days.
Yeah.
That's when she was trying to be a serious actress.
Yes.
Yeah. And
she's really funny in it.
And she was and then she did an interview with HX or Next Magazine. And I'm telling all my business because I am gay as you can already tell.
You are.
I mean,
I thought you were lost coming on Queers and Soaps.
And the thing about it is, I used to read those magazines going down to the village. All of the gay bars, the center on 13th Street. These different stores had HX and X. They were free. So she did an interview in HX and X to promote Trick. And she thanked her gay fans. She appreciated her gay fans because the 1990s going into the 2000s, a lot of the celebrities, I appreciate my gay fans.
That's because they knew the gays is what made them.
Yeah.
If you have the gays, you made it.
And she has a gay best friend. or she had a gay best friend growing up or in her 20s, who, when she did So Notorious, was played by Zachary Quinto.
I love that show. Oh my god.
But so Donna and David actually kiss, and I'm not sure if that's their first kiss under the mistletoe.
No.
Because I'm not sure if they kissed at the dance. I don't really remember. But yeah, this was early David and Donna, and I thought it was cute. I thought it was a little weird that Donna was sitting on Santa's lap. How did you guys feel about that?
They all sat on Santa's lap though, because when Andrea's like, no, and then I want this, and this, Santa.
Yeah. He was blabbing that. Andre was blabbing, blah, blah, blah. I'm like, shut up now, blah, 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 blah. I'm like, wow. And I'm thinking like, you were getting ready for your talk show on Fox that didn't last.
Oh, that's right. I forgot about that.
Yeah, but Donna's sitting on Santa's lap. I noticed that too, and I'm like, okay.
The part of this episode where I felt so like I fell for the snow when they're like, it's snowing. I was like, oh my god, it's snowing in LA. So maybe it's because I'm from the South and our weather changes like that.
Yeah.
Like it was cold the day before. Last night we had tornado warnings, or Friday night we had tornado warnings and everything, and now it's cold again. So I was like, oh my gosh, it's snowing. And then Brandon's out there.
Yeah, I did that to my friend Deanna. So she grew up in Colombia, and then she moved to Florida when she was 16 or 17 actually. And she had never seen real snow. So when she came to visit me in New York one year, we were at a bar down the block, and they had a foam machine, and I was friends with the owner, so I was like, put the foam machine on outside. So then I was like, Deanna, look, and she got so excited, and she ran outside, and she was like, son of a bitch.
Thomas. Very funny and very Aaron to do, but Thomas, poor Deanna.
But she since has moved to New York, and she has seen snow, so she's good. But so is there any other... Oh, so Brenda brings Santa home like a stray dog. All I could think about was the time that she brought the dog home and it kept like barking, and they put it in the garage. And I was like, she's just bringing a stray Santa home now?
Well, at least she's consistent.
Yeah, right.
And it's interesting whenever she would bring... when she brought Santa to the house, how Jim and Cindy gave her a side eye, like, what are you doing? Because my image of Jim and Cindy is like the typical parents on TV, with judgment, and invited everyone else. Oh, you can come over, But when it came to the homeless man, it was a different story. But because a lot of people, and we talking about 20 years ago, people did 30. And still do have issues with homeless people, because there are so many stereotypes of homeless people. It is not funny, because and in Hollywood, Hollywood did depict homeless people, all of them as derelicts, bums, drug addicted, alcoholics. So that was that. Okay, we're gonna do the homeless theme a little bit, but we don't really want to go fully into it. They didn't want to do a drunken Sue Ellen from Dallas doing Bobby's Dream, doing Pam's Dream season, when she was in that she was up in the alley.
Yeah, drunk. I feel like in the 90s there was like this trend of like sitcoms, and like, I want to say mostly sitcoms, but it probably was in dramas also, where they were trying to erase that stigma, because there would be like that very special episode where like a character
Christmas
lost their job and they're homeless, and like it would all get wrapped up. The homelessness would be fixed by the end of the episode. I feel like a lot of shows did that.
I saw on TikTok a video from the show The Hogan Family, where it was the mom for Boy Meets World. Her and her son, I guess her son had stolen something, so they bring it back to the family who's celebrating Christmas and happiness and da-da-da. And it's like, I just wanted my mom to have something nice for Christmas and da-da-da. It was like one of those very special episodes.
There was a movie.
Maybe that's why I'm as sympathetic as I am, because I watched too much of that, and I'm just like, oh.
There was a movie with Shelley Long, Robert Hayes, and Adrian Barbeau. I forgot the name of it, but it was a movie in which it was taking place during Christmas, and um Shelley Long and Robert Hayes were the with an upper middle class family, and they became friends with Adrian Barbeau's character. And towards the end, it was revealed that wait a minute, she was home. They found out that she was homeless. But guess what, Aaron and Tommy, she had a tent. She had a tent right outside the neighborhood. And when she said, yeah, I'm homeless and I'm comfortable with being homeless. I love being where I am. I'm good. I mean, I kind of get it. I kind of get it that she was content, but I really felt that that was the movie's way of neutralizing homelessness. I mean, she did have a tent, and she was very comfortable. And I guess, I guess at that point in her life, she's like, you know what? I don't want the mansion. I don't want the car. I'm good. But no type of. She didn't want any help. She lived in her little tent, and she was living good. And I'm thinking like that was so hokey, but they are people in real life who are real experiencing homelessness. They're like, I'm good. So to some people, the mansion, the car, the toys don't mean anything. So
yeah. Well, we actually find out that he's not homeless, that he actually is a wealthy man who lost his wife the year before. And he was just searching for, I guess, the meaning of Christmas, to see that there were still good people out there. I really don't know what he was trying to get at.
I don't know, especially in Beverly Hills. No offense to people in Beverly Hills, but
because he gave Brenda like a Tiffany earring set. I was like,
yeah.
How do you get Tiffany earrings?
It was like,
and then, okay, I had a realism moment when Cindy thought that her engagement ring was missing, and she called the cops, and then they hung up. Yeah. I was like, now if you did that in real life, they call you right back and be like,
oh yeah, yeah. I'm like, Cindy, really, Cindy?
Mm-hmm.
Wow.
Well, when that happened, I was like, this is it. This is what I remember. He's like robbing them or whatever.
Yeah, I thought the same thing too, Tommy. I'm like, anytime
they left the living room, I was like, oh, here's where the presents disappear.
Yeah, and I'm like, oh boy, don't tell me he went in the store, took the stuff, and going back to what Deidre was saying about him not wanting to be about her not wanting him in the store. I'm like, oh god, I hope he didn't steal the stuff. One interesting fact about Deidre is the actress who played her, Rebecca Stabb. She's a soap opera vet. She played a character named Cecilia Thompson on Loving. She was Trisha's nemesis for Trisha's first husband, Steve Sawatsky, Ava's cousin. She was also on Guiding Light as Jessie Matthews. She was Lillian's niece and Beth's cousin. And she was on Port Charles as Allison Barrington's mother, Elizabeth. She's dating how you say his name? William Devine. That's his girlfriend. Yeah.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, because I look at the credits and I'm like, oh, she's in this episode. Rebecca Stabb. I was like, okay.
Yeah. I love watching older shows and seeing like soap actors of that time being in it. Or even just seeing actors that are famous now, like having like a bit part, like, oh, this is where they started.
Well, I mean, even Ryan Seacrest, to see him in 90210 is like, whoa, because you only know him as American Idol, like, that's what you know him as.
And the actress who played Jackie, Ann Gillespie, she was one of the Siobhan Rhines on Ryan's Hope.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, So looking at Jackie again, and I'm like, oh, you can tell that the acting range, she understood the assignment. So I was like, yep.
There's something about Steve's mom. I don't know the actress's name. Is she somebody? Was she famous for something?
Her name is Christina Belford. She was on a whole lot of dramas, sitcom. Oh, she was on an episode of Family Ties. She was on an episode of Family
Something
Ties.
about her just screamed soap opera actress to me, and I was like, I feel like she's famous for something in the 80s.
I'm trying to think because I know I think she was like a guest on so many shows and stuff. I don't remember her being on this. She probably was. I don't remember her being on the soap. I know she was on Family Ties. She was trying to flirt with Mallory's boyfriend Nick.
I don't know why. Normally, I would just go to IMDb, but for some reason this time I did not do that. So I'll have to do that later. But so yeah, the episode wrapped up with that revelation that he was not homeless, and everybody joined the Walshes for Christmas. We got a little fake snow, and it was a happy ending for all.
Brandon, his fake snow and his Christmas tree artificial colors. Like, Brandon, okay, I know you're the good.
He would have been smart. Just spray paint the front side of it, turn it, and then boom.
Oh, that's right. I forgot he was spray painting the tree.
Right.
I was like, work smarter, Brandon, not harder.
Right.
Yeah. Oh, something else I noticed when Dylan showed up, the Walshes were like so happy to see him and hugging him, and I was like, this is before they went
off to Mexico.
I don't want you dating that guy and like the triangle and everything.
Yeah, because even when Jack was asking him about the girl that he is dating, Brenda, and he had his gift, and I'm like, how you gonna have a Christmas gift in a prison?
I thought that too. I was like, this isn't how prison works.
No. I'm like, wait a minute. You're not supposed to have anything.
Maybe in Beverly Hills it does.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm
Maybe
like, okay.
I also felt like that was a very cushy visiting area. Maybe this is like blue, like white collar prison.
Like the Martha Stewart type.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, because you're not supposed to touch in a real life prison. You're not supposed to touch.
Anytime I see people touch, I'm like, that's a no. You can't do that. But I've never been to a prison, so how do I not?
I mean, I even thought that watching Dynasty when Alexis was in prison for something, her and Adam kept touching hands, and I was like, I don't think you're supposed to touch.
Right.
I was like, Aaron Spelling doesn't know how prison works.
No. I'm like, oh, Aaron. I'm like, so Aaron Spelling. It's like, I respect it. Because Aaron Spelling is like, a lot of his shows, he has his realism points, and then and then he has his fantasy. Because
I was gonna say he was very much like television is escapism.
Yeah.
Like that's what he's going for. He's not going for realism, because if you want that, just go outside.
Right.
Like nowadays, when I'm not looking for realism, like when people put COVID into their storylines, I'm like, I dealt with that for over. I'm still dealing with it. Can we not?
Yeah.
I feel like in like season 8 or 9, when Donna's really into fashion and starting her own line, there's like an episode where she discovers a sweatshop and she puts an end to sweatshops or whatever. I'm like, the world is right. Donna Martin saved us.
Donna Martin changed the world.
Yeah, and I'm like, good old Aaron Spelling. You gotta love him though. You gotta love his contributions to American TV.
The only thing I don't appreciate from him is Seventh Heaven.
But I watched the hell out of that.
I couldn't get into it. I tried multiple times. When Simon ran over the person or whatever he did in season 9, I remember watching the first few episodes, and Simon left. I was like, well, what the,
I didn't watch it that long. But I definitely watched it for like 5 or 6 years with my family. Every Monday we sat down and watched it together.
Yeah, so but I didn't like the acting in it.
No, I watched one episode of it, and I'm like, nah.
It's very much like this. Thomas, how could you do that to me? Wow. Let's pray. No, I'm just kidding. The acting was just not,
Yeah.
And I know the people in that show could act.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. They a lot of them definitely went on to do bigger and better things.
Especially Jessica Biel.
Yeah. Barry Watson too. He's popped up in a few things since.
Yeah.
But all right. Thank you for joining us for this very special Walsh Family Christmas, Dawn.
Oh, it's been a pleasure, Aaron and Tommy. Thank y'all for inviting me. I would love to come back whenever there's whenever y'all would love for me to come back, I will come back. Just tell me the date and time, and I'll be here. It's such a pleasure because I love y'all anyway. Because when y'all first debuted quiz and soaps, I was like, yes, finally, gay people expressing love for soaps, because we were always there. We were always in the audiences. Just as some of the shows act like we weren't there and did not want to show us on some of these soaps. That's a whole nother episode in itself. But this is refreshing, and just congratulations on quiz and soaps and everything. So if y'all whenever y'all want me back, let me know. I will be here.
Definitely. And if you haven't already, like, subscribe, and follow us on all the socials at Queers and Soaps: Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, YouTube, Venmo, everything.
We everywhere. We everywhere.
And we will see you next time. Bye, guys.
Bye.
Bye.